everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tombstone Tourist. Today I'm at the Nashville National Cemetery, just north of downtown Nashville, Tennessee. This cemetery was established in 1866, and some of the first burials were soldiers who died at the Battle of Franklin during the Civil War. When you enter the cemetery, off of Gallatin Road, you pass through a huge 32-foot tall limestone arch. This is one of 5 such arches that were erected at National Cemeteries. The other arches are located at National Cemeteries in Marietta, Georgia, Vicksburg, Mississippi, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia. Over the years, more than 35,000 veterans have been laid to rest in this 64-acre cemetery. The cemetery was closed to ground burials in 1993, but it has space available for cremains. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1996. Begin my visit by making my way to the extreme north side of the cemetery. Here, in Section X, we find the graves of Grand Ole Opry stars Teddy and Doyle Wilburn. Teddy and Doyle Wilburn were born in Hardy, Arkansas. Doyle was born on July the 7th, 1930, and Teddy followed 14 months later on November 30th, 1931. At a young age, they began performing as a family act known as the Wilburn Children. It was while they were performing in Arkansas that Roy Acuff heard them and brought them to the Grand Ole Opry. But their first stint at the Opry was cut short by child labor laws, which forced them to leave after only 6 months. Returning to Arkansas, they continued to perform as a family act, making frequent appearances on the Louisiana Hayride. Later, as young adults, Teddy and Doyle joined the Army, and they both served during the Korean War. After completing their military service, they returned to performing. They were no longer kids, so they changed their name to the Wilburn Brothers, and soon began touring with Fair and Young and Webb Pierce. Over the years, they had a series of hits, including Roll Muddy River, Goody Goody Gumdrop, and their signature song, Trouble's Back in Town. And on November the 10th, 1956, the Wilburn Brothers returned to the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, this time as official members. The brothers were not only successful performers and recording artists, they also left a mark as owners of Surefire Publishing. They were also partners with Don Helm in the Wilhelm Talent Agency, which was instrumental in launching the career of such stars as Loretta Lynn and Patty Loveless. From 1963 to 1974, the Wilburn Brothers had their own syndicated TV show. Many of the 354 half-hour shows can still be seen today on RFD TV. The Wilburn Brothers continued to tour and perform on the Grand Ole Opry until Doyle's health began to fail in the early 1980s. Doyle Wilburn passed away at the age of 52 from the complications of lung cancer on October 16, 1982. Teddy continued to perform regularly on the Grand Ole Opry as a solo act for another 20 years. He passed away from congestive heart failure on November 24, 2004. just 6 days shy of his 72nd birthday. Teddy and Doyle, the Wilburn Brothers, are buried here in the Nashville National Cemetery in adjoining graves with a shared headstone. My next stop is all the way to the extreme south side of the cemetery, adjacent to the railroad tracks that runs through the middle of the cemetery. Here, in section NN, is the grave of Sergeant Barry Sadler, the Army Special Forces Sergeant who wrote and recorded the Ballad of the Green Beret. Barry Sadler was born in Carlsbad, New Mexico on November 1st, 1940. His father died when Barry was very young, forcing Barry and his mother to move from town to town, where she often found odd jobs. It was while they were living in Leadville, Colorado that Barry dropped out of high school, and at the age of 17, he joined the United States Air Force. He trained as a radar technician and was stationed in Japan. In 1961, he was discharged from the Air Force and almost immediately enlisted in the United States Army, where he trained in the airborne and became a Special Forces medic. In 1965, while on patrol in Vietnam, Barry was wounded. He was eventually evacuated and returned to Fort Bragg, and it was there, while he was recovering, that with the help of Robin Moore, he wrote the Ballad of the Green Beret. The initial demo was recorded at Fort Bragg. Then in December 1965, Barry traveled to New York, where he recorded the ballad along with 11 other songs. The Ballad of the Green Beret was an instant hit, and on January 30th, 1966, Barry Sadler performed the song on The Ed Sullivan Show. The song would spend 5 weeks as the #1 song in the United States and would sell more than 9 million copies. Barry was discharged from the Army in 1967 and settled in Tucson, Arizona. There, he tried his luck at acting and was cast in a few small roles on TV shows like Death Valley Days and The High Chaparral. But acting didn't pan out, and Barry soon moved to Nashville, Tennessee, where he did achieve some success as a fiction writer. In 1978, Barry became involved in a long-running feud with country music songwriter Lee Bellamy. Barry was dating Bellamy's former girlfriend, which enraged Bellamy. After months of enduring harassing phone calls from Bellamy, the feud came to a head on December 1st, 1978, outside of a Nashville restaurant. Bellamy confronted Sadler in the parking lot, and Barry claimed that he thought Bellamy had a gun and shot Bellamy between the eyes. He died a few hours later at a local hospital. Barry was arrested and reached a plea agreement and was convicted of manslaughter. He was originally sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, the sentence was later reduced to 30 days in the county jail. Barry stayed in Nashville a few more years before moving to Guatemala, where he continued writing. Then on September 7th, 1988, while he was sitting in a taxicab, he was shot in the head in what was believed to be an attempted robbery. He suffered significant brain damage and was left a quadriplegic. He returned to Nashville, where he received treatment at the Nashville Veterans Hospital. He would never recover and remained confined to the Veterans Hospital in Murfreesboro, Tennessee for the rest of his life. Barry Sadler died of cardiac arrest on November 5th, 1989, just 4 days after his 49th birthday. Well, this ends my visit to the Nashville National Cemetery. If you have a favorite memory of the Wilburn Brothers or Barry Sadler or any of the people that I visit in these videos, be sure to leave me a comment. And as always, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe and give me a thumbs up. So until next time, please remember, life is a wonderful journey. Be sure to take time and enjoy it. And I'll see you down the road. So long, everyone.